My friend, in the stillness of each morning, I pour water into my cup and watch. Not as a man seeking entertainment, but as a warrior seeking truth. The water teaches me, as it has for decades, moving without resistance, filling every space without question or doubt. It simply is. I remember when I thought mastery meant control, when every morning began with forms so precise they could split atoms, and every night ended with muscles screaming for mercy. 10,000 kicks, 10,000 punches, searching for perfection in repetition. I see that same hunger in your eyes, the desire to eliminate uncertainty, to master every variable, to become unshakable. But listen closely, for what I'm about to share cost me years of blood and battle to understand. The very thing we spend our lives fighting against, chaos, uncertainty, the unknowable void. This is not our enemy. This is our greatest master, waiting patiently for us to stop thrashing against its currents. In the quiet hours of my dojo, when the world sleeps and truth speaks loudest, I discovered something that shattered everything I thought I knew about power. True mastery isn't about dominating chaos. It's about becoming one with it, like water shaping itself to any vessel, yet powerful enough to break mountains. You feel the war within you, don't you? That eternal struggle between the order you seek and the chaos that follows like a shadow. Society has conditioned us to build walls against uncertainty, to chart every course, to plan every breath. But I ask you this: has a single leaf ever fallen exactly where it was expected? I'm not here to give you another technique, another form, another pattern to memorize until your bones ache. I'm here to show you something far more precious: how to turn your greatest fear into your most profound teacher. The art of embracing chaos isn't found in ancient scrolls or secret techniques. It lives in the space between heartbeats, in the moment before action, in the breath before the storm. Are you prepared to unlearn the very foundations you've built your strength upon? To discover that true power flows not from resistance, but from surrender to the very force you've spent your life fighting against? Then listen well, my friend. For what follows may change everything you believe about the nature of mastery itself. You know what I find most fascinating about human nature? Our desperate need to control everything around us. It's like watching a man try to grab hold of mist. The tighter he grips, the more it slips through his fingers. I see it every day in my Kune. Fresh students come in, their bodies rigid as stone, thinking tension equals strength. They memorize forms like mathematics, count steps like accountants, trying to turn the art of combat into a predictable science, always seeking that perfect technique, that unbeatable system, that one answer to every question. Let me tell you what I've observed in my years of teaching. The more skilled a martial artist becomes, often the more imprisoned they are by their own expertise. They've built fortresses of technique, castles of theory, armies of practiced responses. But real combat? Real combat is pure chaos. It's like trying to rehearse for a storm. I remember watching two types of fighters in the streets of Hong Kong. The trained ones moved like machines, all polished technique and practiced precision. The street fighters? They moved like wind, unpredictable, raw, natural. Neither group truly understood the power of chaos, but the street fighters, they were at least dancing with it, even if they didn't know it. But here's what will really make you think. Watch children at play. No training, no system, no preconceptions. just pure response to the moment. They adapt instantly, flow naturally, move without the burden of correct technique. In their innocent engagement with chaos, they demonstrate something most martial artists spend decades trying to achieve. You see, we've been taught that chaos is the enemy. That unpredictability must be eliminated. That mastery means control. But what if I told you that this very belief is what's holding you back? What if the real power lies not in controlling chaos, but in becoming one with it? Think about water in a storm. It doesn't fight the wind, it becomes the wind. It doesn't resist the lightning, it reflects it. It doesn't fear chaos because it is chaos in its purest, most powerful form. I'm not here to give you another system to memorize or another technique to perfect. I'm here to show you something far more valuable: how to unlearn your fear of chaos. Because once you understand this, once you truly grasp it, every moment of uncertainty becomes a door to power you never knew you had. The seed I'm planting in your mind right now is simple but profound. What if chaos isn't your enemy? What if it's the greatest teacher you've been running from all your life? Let me tell you about true chaos, my friend. Because what you think is chaos is merely the surface of a deeper order. When people speak of chaos, they think of disorder, of things spinning out of control. They see a leaf dancing in the wind and call its movement random. They see waves crashing on the shore and label them unpredictable. But I discovered something in my deepest moments of combat. What appears chaotic on the surface masks an underlying harmony. In a real fight, there is no script, no choreography, no preset patterns. Each moment flows into the next, like water finding its path down a mountain. This is true chaos, not the absence of order, but a higher order we haven't yet learned to see. I remember my first street fight in Hong Kong. Everyone expected techniques, forms, the usual dance of combat. Instead, I found myself moving without thought, responding without plan. My body understood something my mind had yet to grasp. That true chaos is perfect response to the moment, unburdened by expectation. Watch how a flock of birds changes direction in the sky. No leader, no signal, no command, yet they move as one. This is the nature of true chaos. It's not random. It's a symphony of infinite variables dancing together. In combat, this understanding changed everything for me. I stopped trying to predict my opponent's moves and started feeling their energy, becoming one with the moment's flow. But this goes far beyond fighting, my friend. Think about how you navigate a crowded street, how you adjust your voice in conversation, how you catch a falling object before your mind even registers it's falling. These moments of pristine response, this is true chaos at work. Your body knows what your mind overthinks. The market crashes, relationships evolve, careers take unexpected turns. We call these moments chaotic because we can't control them. But what if these are simply life's way of flowing, like water finding new paths? True chaos isn't your enemy plotting your downfall. It's life itself showing you new possibilities. When you understand this, really understand it, everything changes. You stop trying to impose your will on every moment and start moving with the flow of existence itself. This is what I learned in combat, but it's what I live in life. The secret isn't in controlling chaos, but in recognizing that you are part of it, flowing with it, becoming it. In every traditional school I visited, I saw the same pattern. Students lined up in perfect rows, repeating the same movements thousands of times. Punch, block, kick, like machinery in a factory manufacturing the illusion of mastery. I too once believed in this path. Stand in a horse stance for hours. Practice a single punch 10,000 times. Master every form until it becomes second nature. But let me share something that shattered my understanding forever. In my early days of teaching, I had a student. Advanced rank, perfect technique, flawless forms. One day I took him to spar with an untrained street fighter. His beautiful techniques, useless. His perfect forms, they crumbled. His years of structured training had prepared him for everything except reality. You see, traditional training is like learning to swim by practicing strokes on dry land. Yes, your movement may look perfect in the air, but throw that swimmer into the ocean during a storm. That's when you discover the vast difference between practice and reality. The forms you practice in the safety of your dojo are not fighting. They are the photograph of fighting. And like a photograph of bread cannot feed you, these forms alone cannot prepare you for real combat. Like, the worst prison is the one we don't realize we're in. When you practice the same move 10,000 times, you're not preparing for combat. You're preparing for that one perfect moment that will never come. Real fights are messy, unexpected, alive. They're like trying to catch lightning in your hands. The moment you think you've got it figured out, everything changes. I remember my own awakening. Years of traditional training had given me speed, power, technique. But in real combat, I found myself discarding it all, moving in ways I'd never practiced, responding to each moment fresh, new, alive. That's when I understood. All those years of training should prepare you for the chaos, not shield you from it. This is why I say, don't get set into one form. Adapt it and build your own, and let it grow. Be like water. The structured forms, the rigid training, these are training wheels. Useful at first, but eventually they become the very things holding you back. True mastery isn't about perfecting control. It's about perfecting your ability to let go of control. Let me take you back to the rooftops of Hong Kong, where my real education began. Not in the Kunes with their polished floors and practiced forms, but in the raw chaos of street fights. 3 minutes on a rooftop taught me more than 3 years in any school. There, among the washing lines and water tanks, I learned that combat isn't a poem to be recited. It's a conversation written in the language of pure instinct. I remember one fight that changed everything. A local gang leader twice my size, known for his brutal efficiency. Everyone expected traditional kung fu. Instead, I found myself moving in ways I'd never trained, responding with techniques that had no names. In those 3 minutes, I wasn't practicing martial arts. I was discovering them. Each movement born from necessity. Each response carved from chaos itself. Then Hollywood called, and I thought I knew what chaos was. But brother, I hadn't seen anything yet. They wanted to put me in a box, to make me play the quiet, mystical Asian. They had their scripts, their formulas, their ways of doing things. This is how we make stars, they said. But their control was just another form of cage. So I did what water does. I found my own path. Every stereotype they threw at me became a chance to show something real, something true. The birth of Jeet Kune wasn't a moment of creation. It was a moment of surrender. surrender to the truth I'd been fighting all along. In that quiet moment in my gym, watching my students struggle with rigid forms, I realized we don't need new techniques. We need new eyes to see what's already there. Jeet Kune emerged not from my mastery, but from my willingness to admit that mastery itself was an illusion. But it was in Oakland that the final piece fell into place. The challenge fight, everyone knows about it, but few understand its real lesson. My opponent came with perfect technique, years of training, a system he believed unbeatable. I came with empty hands and an empty mind. The fight lasted 3 minutes, but it wasn't my speed or power that won. It was my understanding that true combat is chaos in its purest form. In those 3 minutes, everything I'd been discovering crystallized into one truth. The highest form of knowledge isn't knowing, it's being. Being like water, being in the moment, being one with the chaos instead of fighting against it. This wasn't just about fighting anymore, this was about existence itself. You see, my journey through chaos taught me that what we call style is just the prison we build to feel safe. What we call technique is just our attempt to make permanent something that is eternally changing. In Hong Kong, I learned to move. In Hollywood, I learned to adapt. But in creating Jeet Kune, I learned to free myself, and ultimately, to free others from the very idea of style itself. My friend, have you ever truly watched bamboo in a storm? Not just glanced at it, but really observed its nature. I spent countless hours studying it outside my home in Hong Kong. When typhoons came, I didn't seek shelter. I watched and learned. The mighty oak, the symbol of strength in the West, would crack and fall. But the bamboo? The bamboo danced with the chaos. In my garden, I planted both oak and bamboo. Students would come, expecting me to praise the oak's solid trunk, its unwavering stance, the very picture of what they thought strength should be. Instead, I would point to the bamboo. Empty your mind, I would tell them. Become like bamboo. They never understood at first. How could this swaying, bending plant be stronger than the mighty oak? But here is the profound truth. The oak fights the wind, while bamboo negotiates with it. When storm winds blow, the oak stands rigid, proud, unchanging. It builds its strength through resistance, through defiance. And so, when the wind reaches that critical point, the oak can only break. It has no other option. It has trained itself into a corner, just as so many martial artists do. The bamboo, though, watch how it behaves. Its strength isn't in standing against the wind, but in bending with it. The harder the wind blows, the lower the bamboo bends. No resistance, no fight, no ego. People mistake this for weakness, just as they mistake humility for weakness. But here is what they don't see. After the strongest typhoon, after the fiercest storm, the bamboo rises again, unmarked, unbroken, stronger for having danced with the wind rather than defied it. This is not just poetry, my friend. This is the essence of true strength. In combat, the fighter who tries to be like the oak, rigid, unchanging, proud, will eventually break. But the fighter who can be like bamboo, who can bend without breaking, adapt without losing their root, flow without losing their center, this fighter cannot be defeated because they cannot be broken. When I created Jeet Kune, this was the principle at its heart. Not the strength of defiance, but the strength of intelligent yielding. Not the power of resistance, but the power of adaptation. The bamboo teaches us that true strength lies not in standing against the storm, but in moving with it, through it, becoming one with it, until the storm itself becomes your strength. Remember, the bamboo bends not because it is weak, but because it knows that true power lies in being able to adapt without breaking, to yield without surrendering, to move without losing your way. This is the highest form of strength, not the strength of resistance, but the strength of resilience. Let me show you how to transform these principles into practice. Not theory, not philosophy, but real methods you can begin using today. First, understand that water doesn't practice being water. It simply is. But we, as humans, must train our minds and bodies to rediscover this natural state. Here's your first method, the water principle in combat. Start with the basic punch. But instead of focusing on force, focus on flow. Let your fist become like water filling an empty space. Don't telegraph, don't prepare, just flow. When blocked, don't retract and retry. Let your energy continue like water finding a new path. Around, under, through. Water doesn't stop when it hits a rock. It adapts instantly. Now, to break structured thinking, I've developed 5 exercises. First, start sparring with your eyes closed. Not to fight blind, but to feel energy. Second, switch leads mid-combination without thought. Third, respond to attacks without blocking. Use only body movement. Fourth, practice techniques in reverse. Fifth, and most crucial, break your patterns the moment you recognize them forming. The broken rhythm exercise. This is where true combat freedom begins. Start with a simple rhythm in your movement. 1, 2, 1, 2, like a heartbeat. Now intentionally break it. Not randomly, but precisely. 1, 2, pause, 1, 1, pause, 2, 1. Your opponent's mind will try to predict your rhythm, but like water, you become unpredictable. This is not chaos for chaos's sake. This is strategic unpredictability. Emotional content. This is what's missing from most training. Don't just punch, put your whole being into it. When I say emotional content, I don't mean anger. I mean absolute commitment to the moment. Start slow with single techniques. Feel everything, not just the movement, but your intent, your spirit, your total commitment to that instant. Finally, progressive sparring without forms. Begin at quarter speed, no predetermined techniques. Just move, respond, adapt. Gradually increase speed, but never at the expense of awareness. When you reach full speed, you'll find yourself using techniques you never practiced, born from the moment, like water taking shape. Remember, these methods aren't about accumulating new techniques. They're about stripping away the artificial, returning to the natural flow that exists within you. Like the bamboo we discussed, each exercise is designed not to add rigidity, but to remove it. Not to give you more to think about, but to free you from thinking altogether. Practice these methods not as separate exercises, but as aspects of the same truth. That formlessness is your greatest form, that emptiness is your greatest fullness, that the ability to change is your greatest constant. My friend, the principles we've discussed reach far beyond the martial arts. In my own journey, I discovered that the same truths that govern combat govern all aspects of life. Let me show you how this wisdom transforms everything, from your business decisions to your deepest relationships. In business, most people operate like rigid oak trees. They make fixed plans, create unchangeable strategies, resist market shifts. But those who truly succeed, they move like water. When I negotiated my film contracts in Hollywood, I didn't just stand firm. I flowed around obstacles. When they offered me stereotypical roles, I didn't fight the system head-on. Instead, like water, I found new channels, created my own production company, wrote my own roles. Remember, water can flow, or it can crash. In business, you must be able to do both. Look at how most approach their careers. They build rigid structures, 5-year plans, inflexible goals. But life, like combat, never goes according to plan. The successful ones, they maintain their direction, but adapt their path. When I started teaching in America, my original plan was a chain of traditional schools. But I observed, I adapted, I evolved. Jeet Kune emerged not from following a plan, but from being responsive to reality. Now, personal relationships, this is where the wisdom becomes most profound. Most relationship problems come from trying to control, to make permanent what is naturally fluid. With my wife Linda, I learned that love, like water, must be free to flow. You cannot grasp it, control it, force it into shapes. The moment you try to fix it into one form, you lose its essence. Be like water in your relationships. Adapt without compromising your essence. Flow without losing your direction. In self-development, people often approach growth like sculpturing stone, forcing, chipping away, trying to create a predetermined form. But true development is more like cultivating a garden. You create the conditions for growth, but you remain responsive to what naturally emerges. When I trained, I never forced my body into techniques. Instead, I learned to listen to it, to flow with its natural tendencies while gently guiding its development. The art of living, like the art of fighting, is not about accumulating more. It's about discovering what's essential and expressing it honestly. In business, this means finding your true value and expressing it authentically. In relationships, it means being genuine rather than playing roles. In personal growth, it means uncovering your natural gifts rather than imposing artificial ones. Remember this: life will test you not by how well you stick to your plans, but by how wisely you adapt to the inevitable chaos. Like water, you must learn to flow naturally around obstacles, to seep through the cracks of opportunity, to carve new paths when old ones are blocked, and most importantly, to maintain your essential nature while taking any form life requires. Let me share with you my own metamorphosis, my friend. There was a time when I was like you, seeking perfection through control, believing mastery meant eliminating uncertainty. I would spend hours perfecting a single movement, believing that if I could just control every muscle, every breath, I would find the answer I sought. Before I understood chaos, I was a prisoner of perfection. My forms were flawless, my techniques precise, my body a weapon honed to razor sharpness. But something was missing. In real combat, all that perfection became a cage. I remember the frustration, the anger when things didn't go as planned. Each unexpected move from an opponent felt like a personal affront to my training. I was the oak tree, strong but brittle, fighting against every wind. The turning point came in the most unexpected way. During a fight, I was knocked off balance, something that wasn't supposed to happen to someone with my training. But in that moment of pure chaos, when all my perfect techniques were stripped away, I moved with an efficiency I had never known. It wasn't conscious, it wasn't planned, it was pure, unfiltered response to reality. After that moment, everything changed. I began to understand that true mastery wasn't about controlling chaos. It was about becoming one with it. My movements became like water, adapting instantly to any situation. My mind cleared of preconceptions, allowing me to see opportunities where before I saw only obstacles. Fighting became effortless, not because it was easier, but because I stopped fighting against reality itself. The benefits transcended combat. My movies improved because I stopped trying to choreograph every moment and started flowing with natural movement. My relationships deepened because I learned to adapt rather than control. My teaching transformed because I stopped trying to mold students into a perfect image and started helping them discover their own way. This transformation taught me that our greatest limitation isn't our lack of control, it's our addiction to it. When I finally embraced chaos, I found a power that no amount of controlled practice could provide. My techniques became more effective not because they were more perfect, but because they were more real. My understanding grew not because I accumulated more knowledge, but because I learned to see what was already there. The Bruce Lee you see now was born from this understanding. Every movie, every fight, every teaching comes from this truth. I am not more skilled than before, I am more free, not more controlled, more alive. This is the transformation that chaos offers, not from weakness to strength, but from rigid strength to flowing power. What I'm sharing with you isn't just a fighting philosophy, it's written in the very fabric of existence. Look at how the universe itself operates. Scientists speak of quantum uncertainty, where the very act of trying to measure something changes its nature. Is this not what we experience in combat? The moment you try to fix and predict a situation, you've already changed it. Consider the patterns of nature. A river doesn't question its path. It simply flows, finding the way of least resistance while carving through mountains. The branches of a tree don't grow according to a plan, yet they form perfect patterns following the laws of nature. Even your own heartbeat isn't perfectly regular. It contains subtle chaos that is essential to its health. Modern physics tells us something profound. At the deepest level, the universe isn't made of solid, unchanging objects. It's made of relationships, of interactions, of energy in constant flow. When I say be like water, I'm not speaking in metaphors. I'm describing the fundamental nature of reality itself. The ancient Chinese philosophers understood this. They spoke of the Tao, the underlying principle that governs all things. But they didn't see it as something rigid or fixed. They saw it as an eternal dance between order and chaos, between yin and yang. This isn't mysticism. It's the same principle that quantum physicists describe when they talk about wave-particle duality. In your own body, this truth is constantly at work. Your nervous system doesn't operate like a computer with fixed programs and responses. It's a dynamic, ever-changing network that adapts moment by moment. When you throw a punch without thinking, you're tapping into systems so complex that no computer could replicate them. Yet they work perfectly when you stop trying to control them. The principle of adaptation is written into every successful system in nature. Species that survive aren't the strongest or the most intelligent, but the most responsive to change. Your immune system doesn't work by following fixed rules. It learns, adapts, evolves. This is the same principle I teach in Jeet, Kune. Not fixed techniques, but the ability to adapt instantly to any situation. Even your consciousness, your very awareness, operates on these principles. Try to grasp it, to control it, and it slips away. Allow it to flow naturally, and it expands beyond all boundaries. This is why meditation isn't about controlling your mind. It's about letting go of control, allowing your natural awareness to emerge. These aren't separate principles that accidentally align. They are different manifestations of the same fundamental truth. Whether you're talking about combat, physics, biology, or consciousness, the message is the same. True power comes not from imposing control, but from moving in harmony with the natural flow of reality. Now, my friend, let me give you the tools to begin your own journey. Not tomorrow, not next week, today, right after we finish speaking. These aren't mere exercises, they're gateways to transformation. Each one is designed to strip away the artificial and return you to your natural state. First, your daily chaos exposure exercise. Each morning, choose one routine activity and completely change how you do it. If you eat with your right hand, use your left. If you take the same route to work, find a new path. Don't plan the change. Let it emerge in the moment. This isn't about creating artificial chaos. It's about becoming comfortable with natural uncertainty. Here's your 3-step method for embracing uncertainty. Step 1. When facing a decision, resist your first habitual response. Step 2. Instead of seeking the right answer, explore 3 completely different approaches. Step 3. Choose the path that feels most alive, not most safe. Do this with small decisions first. What to eat, what to wear. Then gradually apply it to bigger choices. Your weekly comfort zone challenge is sacred. Every 7 days, do something that makes you uncomfortable. Not recklessly dangerous, purposefully uncertain. Take a class in something you know nothing about. Speak to a stranger. Teach someone a skill you're still learning. The point isn't to master these activities. It's to become comfortable with being a beginner again. For the personal progress journal, I want you to do something different. Don't write about your successes or failures. Instead, document your responses to uncertainty. When did you flow? When did you freeze? When did you fight against reality instead of flowing with it? Don't judge. Observe, like watching water find its path. Finally, the water becoming meditation. Find a quiet space. Start with any vessel of water. Watch it for 5 minutes. Don't think about being like water. Experience how water actually behaves, how it adapts instantly to any container, how it remains true to its nature while taking any form. Then, in your daily activities, recall this quality of instant, effortless adaptation. But remember this: these aren't separate exercises. They're different doors to the same room. Some days you'll practice all of them. Other days one will call to you more strongly. Trust that instinct. The goal isn't to master the exercises. It's to embody their essence until they're no longer exercises at all, just your natural way of being. Start today, not with all of them, with one. Choose the one that both excites and frightens you a little. That subtle tension, that gentle fear. That's the edge of growth. That's where transformation begins. Don't wait for perfect understanding. Perfect understanding comes through action, through embracing the very uncertainty these exercises will reveal. My friend, let me share with you what I see when I look at human potential. Not what you are now, not what society thinks you can be, but what you truly are when all limitations fall away. This isn't about reaching a destination, it's about embracing an endless journey of becoming. Your ultimate potential isn't a fixed point in the future. It's not a belt rank, a title, or a position. These are just markers along the way, like buoys in an endless ocean. What I'm talking about is becoming like water itself, ever moving, ever changing, yet always completely itself. Imagine being so adaptable that no situation can trap you, yet so centered that no force can disturb your essence. This journey never ends because true potential isn't about reaching perfection. It's about perfect ongoing response to life itself. In my own journey, every peak I reached revealed new horizons. Each answer opened new questions. This isn't frustration. It's the very essence of being alive. The oak tree may reach its full height, but water never stops flowing, never stops finding new paths. Continuous evolution becomes your natural state. Like a master jazz musician who's transcended thinking about notes and scales, you'll move through life with spontaneous precision. Your responses become so natural that there's no gap between thought and action, between intention and reality. Not because you've memorized every possible situation, but because you've learned to flow with any situation. This isn't just about martial arts or physical movement. It extends to every aspect of your being. Your mind becomes like a still pond, reflecting reality perfectly without distortion. Your emotions flow naturally, neither suppressed nor exaggerated. Your actions emerge not from rules or habits, but from direct response to the moment. The path of lifelong learning isn't about accumulating more. It's about needing less. Less tension, less resistance, less artificial structure. You'll find yourself letting go of techniques rather than adding them, simplifying rather than complicating. The highest achievement isn't to have many tools, but to be able to adapt perfectly with whatever is at hand. Remember this: the ocean doesn't try to be powerful. It simply is powerful because it's completely itself. Your ultimate potential isn't about becoming something different. It's about being more completely what you already are. Every drop of water contains the essence of the entire ocean. Similarly, your true potential already exists within you. Our work is simply removing what blocks its natural expression. This is the vision I hold for you. Not a fixed image of perfection, but an endless unfolding of your natural power. Like water wearing away rock, patient but unstoppable, you'll find yourself breaking through limitations you once thought permanent. Not through force, but through the gentle, persistent power of natural growth.